So astrology, meditation, and tarot are just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to spirituality. There's actually a lot more to know, and that is why I created this model, so that you can know how to start your spiritual journey. So let's begin. Let's first get the definition of spirituality right out of the way. The way I like to define spirituality is as the quality of being connected to the immaterial essence of all things. Now, you might be new to spirituality and that just sounded like confusion for you, but what I will tell you is that spirituality actually comes in degrees. Just like there are different degrees of knowing yourself, there are different degrees of understanding spirituality. Let's first begin with the spiritual spectrum. The reason I created it as an inverted triangle is because of the fact that the majority of the population are usually at the top, where spirituality is just experience. And everybody in their lives has gotten to a point where they've asked, is there something greater than me? As you start going through your spiritual journey, you start learning more about these concepts, you start developing your mind, you get to a place where you basically are a distinguished individual. So let's first begin with the experience. The first aspect of spirituality is experience. Most often it can be found in the present moment. Let's take a deep breath. That right there is spirituality. When you're able to tap into the present moment, you're able to tap into your spirituality. Spirituality will always begin with the breath. What I want you to understand is that really you don't need many tools or many concepts for you to get and experience spirituality. That is an unpopular opinion often because people are always trying to put labels on you. You know, I am an empath or I am etc. But it really all just comes down to your ability to be present and your ability to understand the present moment and feel into it and surrender to it. Now, if that's really just all you want to know about spirituality and that's the level of depth that you want to understand and experience it, we could just leave it at that, really. A lot of people like to judge others for their level of spirituality, but in reality, it all just comes down to a person's ability to connect with each other, and that's all really that matters. But for those ready to go deeper and explore their consciousness, then let's proceed. In the Law of One, Ra talks about the importance of awe. Awe really pushes us to look into the unknown, and there are certain experiences that have an affinity to cause you to have more awe. Some common things that can spark awe within you are UFOs, conspiracy theories, drugs, OBE, stories, sleep paralysis, lucid dreaming, and near-death experiences. And I know that you might have experienced one of these things in your life already, so make sure to write down in the comments below just exactly what that experience was. But now I'll go deeper into the most common experiences that open you up to spirituality, altered states of mind. There is a vast amount of research on altered states of mind, specifically psychedelics, which show that people experience a completely different reality. Another drug that is popular for tapping into spirituality is marijuana. Most of these drugs change the chemistry in your brain to allow for a spiritual portal to open. But there are also other, more sober ways of experiencing your spirituality. 3 of them being meditation, sleep and dreaming, and sensory deprivation. There's also a lot of correlation between mental illnesses and spiritual awakenings. For example, schizophrenia actually parallels a lot of the symptoms that people experience during their spiritual awakening. This is important to note as it can be a great consolation for those going through these symptoms and they feel like they're going crazy. But the experience is actually just the beginning. The experience needs to be refined into something more useful, and that is where philosophy comes in. Experience is only experience until it is refined into wisdom. To start to tap into your spirituality, you need to derive lessons from your experiences, and that is where philosophy comes in. This is what the mind is for. When we have a mind that is able to look upon experience and reflect on possibility, it leads to a more spiritual life. And I actually have a video related to how this process affects your spiritual evolution, so make sure to click on the link above. The 6 headings under which the disciplines of philosophy are commonly classified are metaphysics, which deals with such abstract subjects as cosmology, theology, and the nature of being; logic, which deals with the laws governing rational thinking, or as it has been called, the doctrine of fallacies; ethics, which is the science of morality, individual responsibility, and character; psychology, which is devoted to investigation and the classification of those forms of phenomena referable to mental origin; epistemology, which is the science concerned primarily with the nature of knowledge itself and the question of whether it may exist in absolute form; and aesthetics, which is the science of the nature of and the reactions awakened by the beautiful, the harmonious, the elegant, and the noble. Now, I know it can be a little bit overwhelming looking at all of these 6 disciplines and asking yourself what they all mean. For now, just forget about the labels. What I want you to know is that these things exist, that there are distinctions to philosophy, and that these are all things that you can explore on your own. I myself can take hours just talking about one of these disciplines. So, if you want to develop your mind, take it upon yourself to look into these disciplines and play around a little bit. Start reading a little bit on Marcus Aurelius, start reading a little bit on the Stoics, start reading a little bit on Nietzsche. But for now, I just want you to know that philosophy is really just a tool, a transmutational tool that converts your experiences, base metal, into gold, wisdom. So now I'm going to talk about a branch of philosophy that could actually just be its own tree. That is psychology. The distinction between philosophy and psychology is that when a man seeks wisdom within experience, he is a philosopher. But when the man seeks wisdom within himself, he is a psychologist. If we were to look at the roots of psychology, we would understand that it is actually the study of the soul. And that is why it is so important. With psychology, especially Jungian psychology, you are able to tap into the nature of your soul. It presents to you spiritual gifts and psychological resources for you to unlock your potential. And just to name a few, we have the archetypes, the self-actualization pyramid, chakras, self-reflection, personality psychology, and shadow work. These are all tools that help us to express the soul more effectively. Psychology is what will bring spirituality into the world. It is the bridge that will solidify our understanding of the material world and the realm of spirit. But enough of that. Let's get back to the juicy stuff. The psychological structures. Basically, anything you look into pertaining Carl Jung works. Most people will know of him because he was the one who coined the term synchronicity. All of you law of attraction people out there will know what's up. But there are two psychological concepts that will aid you in your spiritual evolution. Archetypes are the maps of the soul. Archetypes serve as structures for human beings to learn to express themselves at a greater level. Some quick examples would be the king, the warrior, the magician, and the lover. When we look at these archetypes, they show us where they must be expressed in ourselves for us to find fulfillment. Next, the shadow. A concept that needs to be understood as shadow work is what will lead to a deeper understanding of the self. It is the side of spirituality that is often pushed away, as it is the most uncomfortable but will be one of the most expansive aspects of spirituality. More info on the shadow will be on the video above, so make sure to check that out. Next, I talk about other psychological concepts that will aid you in your journey. The self-actualization pyramid, created by Abraham Maslow. It is known as a popular map used all over the world that, when taken in as a map for spiritual development, becomes a guide to the expression of the self. Chakras, although not from the school of psychology, can be used in conjunction as a way to tap into our potential. It can be paralleled with the self-actualization pyramid, making it a map that is tangible. Last but not least, personality psychology. It is a study of the personality. There are various tools such as MBTI, the Big Five, and Hexaco. These are all the structures that I use to understand myself at a deeper level. The main thing to understand about psychology is that there are systems within you that can aid you in your spiritual journey. These structures and these systems can actually serve as maps in navigating your soul. And so, when it comes to your spiritual journey, you can always come back to psychology to aid you in progressing your spiritual evolution. And after that, you arrive at esotericism. Esotericism is defined as intended for or likely to be understood by only a small number of people with a specialized knowledge or interest. And once you get here, you start to get into all the mainstream spirituality stuff that people see on the internet. For example, tarot, astrology, crystals, and more. You're not going to be able to use these tools to their fullest extent when you still haven't gone through the process of understanding the philosophy and psychology behind them. All of these different tools are mirrors for us to look into our psyche and its connection to the universe. Tarot is a divination tool used as a way to look into the expression of the moment. Astrology has been known to be used by psychologists to aid their patients in healing themselves. Not only that, but when you look into esoteric astrology, you are able to understand the different levels of expression of each planet within your chart. So I wouldn't start to even think about magic or any of these tools until you actually get the philosophical and psychological foundation behind them, or else it would just lead to confusion and misuse. But once you start to tap into esotericism the right way, you become a server of the world. You start to tap into your gifts and start using them in a way that will bring a new world forward. And now that you have the map for your spiritual journey, what I want you to do is to take the first step, the right step. Make sure to click on this video right here so you can begin to understand how to use your breath for your transformation and evolution. And that's it for right now, guys. Remember, stay lucid. Peace.